What's up guys, it's Matt Collins Jones here, also known as the D365 Geek, and today we are talking about Power Automate and CDS actions, and we're going to talk about the get record action for the Common Data Service. So this is a series of videos that is using the Common Data Service connector and not the Common Data Service current connector. These things work slightly differently in each one, so I'm covering those separately. So the get record action allows you to pass in some information, as in what record you're trying to retrieve, and then allows you to get information from that record back. So this could be useful if you are running this as an integration between systems. You may want to pass it a GUID that you are using in both systems, and then you can retrieve those records and get the information that you can then use later on. So let's take a look at it. We've got a CDS flow here, and I'm using a flow trigger called when a record is selected from the Common Data Service. This allows you to manually run something on a record. So you manually run this on an accounts record, and then you can trigger it from that way. So if we click on New Step and go to Common Data Service, this action here is called get record. So if we click on that, we are asked for three things. So we're asked for the environment, so i.e. what environment this is running in. So I'm in my Matt's demo here. So I could either choose Matt's demo or I can choose the current environment. Again, current environment is handy because if you're moving these flows between environments, it means you don't need to come in and then update the environments in all your steps. So it's one handy tip there. Next, we're going to choose the entity that we will run this on. We're going to run this on accounts. We don't need to run this on accounts. I'm just doing this because I'm going to be retrieving the GUID from this step, and therefore I want to use it down here. And then we need the item identifier. So how do we find that record that we want to find? You find them via GUIDs in the system. So this is essentially the GUID that is asking for. So in here we have the dynamic content for when the record is selected, so this bit up here, and we have the account, which is the unique identifier of the account. So just a tip, all the unique identifiers in the system will have the same name as the entity that you are doing. So if you are running this on accounts, or you want to find an account in the accounts entities, you look for the account field, and that is the field that identifies the GUID. Same thing for quotes, it would be called quote. Opportunities, it would be called opportunity. Contacts, it would be called contacts. So it's the singular of the entity that you're looking at. So we're going to choose account there. So what this will do is when we run this, and when we run this manual flow here, it's going to look at our current account, and we could do this across environments as well if you have multiple environments. It's going to look at the entities, and it's going to pull back information about this entity via this identifier. So it's going to identify it via this GUID, and it's going to pull back some information. So we'll save it, and then we will test it. So if I flick over to my my instance here, I've got a couple of accounts here. I've got this SS Corp one, which has a bit of information around longitude and latitude, so that'll be interesting. So if I select that, I can go up, and I can click to my ribbon, and I can click flow. And then from flow, I get a list of actions. So I can create a flow from here, see my flows from here, or I can run flows from here. It's important to note that these are flows where you've chosen select when a record is selected. You do not get all your flows in here. These are manually triggered flows that you have in here. So if I click CDS trigger, it's going to prompt me for name of account, which I used in a previous video, and just put any information into there that we want. Click run the flow. We don't need that step. It's just left over from my old video. Click done, and then we can go back to Power Automate, and then we can go and take a look at the flow that just run. So around 9 seconds ago. So we can see when a record is updated. So this information we are then going to go off and we're going to use that item identifier there, and we are going to retrieve information about that account. So it's retrieved the details of SS Corp, all the different things, the account number, the city, the longitude and latitude, the address, all of these different things it's pulling back. Now, because we've got that, we can then use that later on. So if we had other things, for instance, so if we had these coming in from a SharePoint site, or these coming in from an SQL database, or this coming in from a different piece of integration, this get record allows you to go off, retrieve information about that record that you don't currently have in your flow. And that's the important thing to understand, is that this action allows you to get information about a record if you do not have all that information. So sometimes if you're running this, say you're running this on a quote, and you want to get information about a contact that is on that quote, so you can use that information later on in your flow. From a workflows standpoint, from like the D365 side, in workflows you would just have access to that information. You could go into your dynamic content and you could find, you could go to the relationship, and it would give you all of the information about that record that you could then put into your next steps. You don't have that luxury in Flow. When you run a flow, you only retrieve information that you're directly querying. So in this instance, when we are selecting that record, we're getting the information about that record back, but not necessarily information about records relating to that. So as long as you can pass in a GUID and find another piece of information, another record, you can use this to then use that to then output something to that. So in my case, if I had a quote, I wanted to find the contact's telephone number, so I could put that on an email or something like that. If I'm running this on a quote, I would use a get record. I would use the contact ID or the contact from that lookup on the quote to use a get record, and then I have access to the entire contact record. So that's why this can be really powerful when you're not directly querying this off a direct record, when you're going off and finding another piece of information. So this is super powerful. I use it all the time, but as usual, I'd like to know what you guys use this for. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please like and please share it with your friends. It's always appreciated. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.